Hey everybody, welcome to NoDQ&A video right here on youtube.com/NoDQCW. And as always, NoDQ.com. Last night was the WWE No Way Out pay-per-view. So got a lot of questions here regarding No Way Out. Let's get right down to it. Did Dolph Ziggler step up at this Sunday's pay-per-view, and what's next for him? I think a run as Mr. Money in the Bank would be a good way to keep building him up before any possible title run. Your thoughts? Well, regarding the pay-per-view, I think that the match with him and Sheamus was good for what it was. I mean, I don't think it was really any better than some of the matches they've had on television, but when you look at it, the two of them had very little time to prepare for the match. It was something that came up at the last minute. So it was what it was. But as far as Dolph Ziggler goes, as you mentioned, him winning Money in the Bank, I think that's a great idea. I think that that's the next step for him, and you can build him up towards the world title and have him as Mr. Money in the Bank and build that up over several months. I think that's a great idea. If it was my choice, I'd go with Ziggler for Money in the Bank. So we'll see what happens in the next coming weeks. I mean, I'm sure he'll be in it. But whether he wins or not, I mean, that remains to be seen. But I'd love to see him get that opportunity. I think that would be great for him. Absolutely. The Goldberg chants for Ryback are getting old. Knowing wrestling fans, I'm sure it won't end soon. I remember when Goldberg started, everyone said he was ripping off Steve Austin. What's the big deal? Wrestlers copy looks and styles of older wrestlers. Well, you're absolutely right. The thing about Ryback is that WWE is so blatantly trying to recreate Goldberg with him, having him come out there the same exact style, doing the 2-3 minute squash matches, having him being very reckless with his opponents and just throwing them around. And also with his look, you know, he's got the bald head, he's this big jacked up guy. And he even does like the same kind of mannerisms as Goldberg with the snorting and the facial expressions. So, I mean, it's a very similar character to Goldberg, but as you mentioned, I mean, wrestlers have copied other wrestlers for decades. I mean, Ric Flair was the Nature Boy, but there was Nature Boy Buddy Rogers first. Hulk Hogan borrowed a lot of his act from superstar Billy Graham and Dusty Rhodes. So, I mean, wrestlers copy wrestlers, and eventually gimmicks get recycled. I mean, we're seeing right now with, like, Damien Sandow. He's kind of like this hybrid of the Genius and the old blue blood Triple H. And we see Brodus Clay kind of like the Cat Ernest Miller. So, I mean, eventually these gimmicks get recycled. And, I mean, it's okay because you have a new audience. So you have fans today that aren't familiar at all with characters like Goldberg or Ernest the Cat Miller. And, I mean, it's okay. I mean, of course, some of the older fans will know better, but you're trying to create a new star for a new audience. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to happen. And as I've mentioned before, I think that they should try to go further with Ryback's character and make him a little more, make him more than just one-dimensional. And if they start doing that with him, I think people will begin to accept him more. But, I mean, for the time being, I love the squash matches. I love him just going out there and destroying people, and I think it's very entertaining, so I'm a big fan of it. If WWE are so concerned with ratings, why didn't they have Triple H's promo on Raw the next night instead of No Way Out? It didn't really do much for the pay-per-view at all, and having Triple H on Raw would boost the rating after a pay-per-view. Well, I think the idea was that they wanted to have something for No Way Out. I mean, let's face it, it's a B show, and they wanted to have some kind of big segment to try to get people to tune into No Way Out. And I don't really think Triple H's promo was going to do anything one way or another. People were either going to buy the pay-per-view or they weren't, and Triple H wasn't going to matter. But, you know, they tried. They tried to do something for the pay-per-view and make it special and have Triple H officially challenge Brock Lesnar at the pay-per-view. So, I mean, whatever. And they already got enough for Raw coming up tonight. They have the whole storyline with John Laurinaitis being fired and what's going to happen next with him. So they already had enough for Raw. And, you know, no problem with what they did. I mean, it is what it is. Hey, Aaron, assuming John Laurinaitis is fired, Do you see Vince McMahon back on TV for a while, or does he name a new GM? Also, if a new GM is named, who do you think it will be? I think that those of you that are expecting John Laurinaitis to be gone now are going to be very disappointed. I mean, the current storylines have John Laurinaitis continuing to be a focal point, and the rumored storyline right now for SummerSlam is Vince McMahon being in the corner of Triple H and John Laurinaitis being in the corner of Brock Lesnar. So I suspect that we're going to see some sort of storyline where Laurinaitis gets involved with Lesnar and there's some kind of power struggle over the company, which they've done these storylines so many times, these power struggle storylines, and we're probably going to see one again. And I suspect we're going to see more Vince on TV. I mean, the fact that Raw last week with Vince's return did such a big rating for WWE, I mean, they're going to milk Vince into the ground now and have him involved as much as possible. To try to keep the ratings up. They obviously don't want to go back under 3.0, so they want to keep Vince McMahon as part of the storylines, and I don't think a new GM is going to be named for a while. I think they're going to keep this Vince McMahon versus John Laurinaitis storyline going at least through the summer, and we'll see where things go from there. Did you get into wrestling yourself, or was it your father's doing? How, if at all, did your father's music career affect your life? Yeah, I mean, my dad was a die-hard wrestling fan. He grew up on the East Coast. He would go to the Madison Square Garden shows. And, yeah, I mean, when I was born, I was pretty much born into it. I mean, I was sitting in my crib, and he had a Ox Baker poster up on the wall, and it scared the shit out of me. So that was my first introduction into wrestling. And when I was 3, he took me to the sports arena to see Hulk Hogan versus Randy Savage, and it's just something that stuck with me all my life. So definitely, my dad had a lot of influence with me when it comes to wrestling, and with his music career, I mean, yeah, it definitely had a huge impact on my life. Not something I really want to go into a lot of detail about, but definitely it was a big part of my life growing up, and just I mean, the music and the wrestling, that's what it was all about. Hey, Aaron, I don't believe I asked this question before. Somebody asked this question before. But with your pending nuptials, I thought it was important to ask, if you could walk down the aisle to any entrance music, what would it be? Mine would either be Edge or Kurt Angle's. Well, if I had a choice, which I don't, at least for my entrance, I would go with Shawn Michaels, Sexy Boy. I mean, that's a great wrestling theme right there. Actually, Beth and I have made a compromise, so for the reception, the groomsmen are coming out to the NWO music, complete with black sunglasses, and I'm sure that'll end up popping up on Facebook or YouTube, something like that. But that'll be very entertaining. And as you guys know, for those of you who don't know, I have 2 best men, Mike Nagel and Noah Donish. Yes, I'm being serious here. They're going to be involved with that, so it's going to be very entertaining stuff right there. And for the money dance, we're having Ted DiBiase's theme song. So I got a few wrestling songs in there, but I think I'm lucky I got as much as I did, actually. What did you think of the storyline where Shawn Michaels became employed by JBL? To be honest with you, I wasn't really a huge fan of it. I mean, Shawn did a great job, as always. I mean, Shawn Michaels is always at the top of his game with these storylines. But I just found it hard to believe that all of a sudden Shawn Michaels would be broke. It just didn't make much logical sense, and they tried to explain that like the economy was bad or whatever, and he made some bad investments. But I just didn't buy into that, and because of that, I thought the whole storyline was weak, and it was somewhat predictable. I mean, they had JBL versus Cena at the Royal Rumble, and the whole storyline where Shawn Michaels would be forced to cost JBL the match. I mean, we all knew what the outcome of that was going to be, that Shawn was going to not help JBL. So, I mean, yeah, I didn't think it was a great storyline, especially coming off the Shawn Michaels versus Chris Jericho storyline, which was definitely one of the best storylines of the past decade. And, they just could not live up to that. All right, that'll wrap it up for this edition of No DQ&A video. We're getting close to the end of the top 25 WWE superstars of all time. So make sure you check out the videos. Check out all the videos. Once the last video's up, I'll make a playlist so you can get easy access to all of them. But check those out, and stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest coming off of No Way Out. And we got Raw coming up tonight. So stay tuned to NoDQ.com and subscribe to the YouTube channel, and we'll see you next time.